At a family party, my 13-year-old niece laughed. Mom says if you disappeared, no one would notice, while opening the $850 phone I bought her. Everyone laughed, except me. I silently cut off every payment, moved out, and vanished. All I left behind was a black backpack. So, get this, I'm at this family shindig, right? It's a bit of a madhouse, like 30 people all talking over each other. Anyway, my mom throws out this gem: if you vanished tomorrow, no one would even notice. And yeah, that stung a bit. Meanwhile, my 13-year-old niece is busy giggling as she unwraps the $850 phone I got her. She's got these dainty little fingers, but boy, her words could cut glass. We're all gathered in the living room, and the air's buzzing with noise. There's a cake in the kitchen just waiting to be cut, but honestly, it felt like I already had a fire burning inside me. My sister Lindsay, sitting there on the couch totally zoned into her phone, didn't even glance up. Just gave this smirky little smile, like she's a judge and the verdict just came out exactly as she hoped. Mom was over in the kitchen, stirring something and pretending she didn't hear a thing, but I noticed her shoulders lift a bit, like she silently agreed. My dad? Didn't even try to hide it. He chuckled, raised his beer, and added, well, she's not wrong. And that's when the whole room erupted in laughter, even Uncle Gary, who hardly knows me outside of these family dinners. I'm just standing there, feeling like the biggest fool ever. You know, the guy who always coughs up the cash, solves everyone's problems, but never finds it's quite enough. My niece chirped, thanks for the phone, Uncle, already snuggled into her mom, totally engrossed in her new gadget. I just watched her, feeling my face heat up, heartbeat drumming in my ears, the room suddenly way too small and suffocating. But what did I do? I just nodded and smiled, because that's my thing, pretending like it's all good. Finally, Lindsay looks up, and I catch this gleam in her eyes. A mix of amusement and satisfaction, like she'd been waiting for this moment for me to just stand there, speechless and embarrassed. And then, Mom's voice cuts through the tension, all cheery, all right, everyone, let's cut the cake. The mood shifts, but that bitterness, it just lingers. I drifted into the kitchen, leaned against the counter as they gathered around the table. They lit the candles, made wishes, and I stood there, fists clenched. Inside, something cold and decisive took over. Pulling out my phone, 2 quick taps, and poof, every bill, every subscription, every line of credit I'd set up for them, gone. My fingers moved on their own, like they knew what had to be done. I slipped out while the party raged on. No one even noticed. I didn't head home though. Instead, I went straight to my apartment, threw a few things in a travel bag, and then grabbed this old, dusty backpack from my closet. It was time for a little message. I returned to the chaos, placed that backpack quietly by the stairs, and vanished for real. When they'd eventually find it, they'd have to figure it out. The next morning was wild. I woke up to banging on my door, my dad's voice booming, furious. Open up. You think you can just do this? He yelled. But I stayed silent, watching the door tremble. You think you're smart? Better than us? He barked, voice cracking with an edge of fear. I didn't play into it. Eventually, the noise faded as he stormed off. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Just one line, how could you do this to your own family? No reply from me. Lindsay tried next. She called 6 times in a row, finally left a message saying, you think you're clever? See how long you last without a family? I read it and felt a smirk forming. Was that supposed to be a threat? Evening rolls around, fresh out of the shower, and I hear a key turn in the lock. I freeze. No one should have a key but, boom. The door swings open, and there's Dad, looking like a storm ready to unleash. So there we were, standing in the kitchen, and things were tense as ever. I was drying my hair, leaning against the counter, and my dad was practically fuming with Mom right behind him, her eyes wide and looking all kinds of frantic. You think you can just lock me out? He shouted, full of bluster. I kept my cool, though. Get out, I told him, my voice was calm but cold. This is what you've become, my mom chimed in, her voice climbing into that shrill territory as she accused me of abandoning the family. I corrected her, you used me. There's a difference. Dad, looking all puffed up, stepped closer with his fists clenched like he was ready for something. You ungrateful little troublemaker, he spat. I didn't flinch. Try it, I challenged, cool as a cucumber. We both knew he wasn't ever going to follow through. He was all talk, hiding behind loud words because deep down he was just scared. Meanwhile, Mom was breaking down, talking about how they couldn't pay the bills, how Lindsay was struggling. Yep, I nodded, everything I paid for, managed. It's over. Dad let out this bitter laugh, almost mocking. You think you're so powerful? That we need you? He sneered. I just shrugged it off, pointing out that they'd come barging into my apartment like this. Begging, I said simply. He got all defensive, insisting they weren't begging. And I'd had enough of it all, cutting through his noise with a firm, enough. I'm done. Mom tried to reach out. This is your family, she pleaded. But I corrected her again. I wasn't their safety net, their doormat anymore. Dad's face twisted with anger. You little pest, he said. I wasn't having it. Get out now, I told them. His threats didn't faze me. I laughed, calling out their cruelty, using me like a tool, spending my money while looking down on me. Dad took a step forward but then, finally, he stopped. Shoulders slumped, he muttered something about me regretting this, saying I'd come crawling back. But I knew I wouldn't. They stomped off, slamming the door, but I knew this wasn't over. Sure enough, they tried again the next day. Lindsay showed up at my office, face pale, eyes puffy from crying. My boss was thrown off, uncomfortable as she waved at me through the glass. I stayed put at my desk, not even looking up. She didn't leave, though, started talking to the receptionist, her voice rising until security stepped in. I knew she'd be back. That evening, there was another knock. This time, it was my landlord. My family was downstairs, making a scene. He was polite but firm. Tell them to leave, or I'll call the police, he said, blinking. But it's your family, he added, a bit awkwardly. Not anymore, I corrected, watching through the window as security finally managed to escort them away. Days passed. I ignored their calls, texts, all the desperate voicemails. Lindsay sent fiery messages, blaming me for everything. Mom left tearful voicemails, begging me to be the bigger person. Dad, initially full of rage, eventually tried a different approach. An invitation, son, let's settle this like men, he said. There was a game coming up, he suggested meeting there to talk. I had a feeling it was a setup, but I agreed. I was ready for it. The stadium was packed, buzzing with life and energy. Dad was waiting, waving me over with a grin, like he'd won some twisted game. I settled in beside him, eyes locked on my old black backpack he had with him. Surprised I called you? He shouted over the noise, trying to play it cool. But I knew why I was really there. It wasn't about reconciliation. It was just another attempt at control. But this time, I wasn't the same person they were used to. My mind was set, and I was ready for whatever came next. He clicked his fingers against the backpack, like he was trying to play a little beat. Found this, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. And guess what, Sherlock? We know. Know what? I asked, trying to keep my cool even though the cold wind was biting through the field. Your secrets, your lies. You think you're squeaky clean? Better than us? His voice went sharp. Yeah, right. You've been keeping things hidden all along. Should have figured it out. Always acting like you're some kind of saint. I nearly laughed. Go ahead, open it. Let's see what you think you know. His eyes flickered with a mix of fear and anger. Don't mess around. I don't need to open it. I already know you've been stealing from us, pulling strings, pretending to be Mr. Perfect at home while keeping your little stash. Stash? I leaned back into the cold seat behind me. The only thing stashed in there is the truth. The game crowd exploded with cheers as our team scored, but between us, it was just silence, tension, and his shaking hand on the backpack. You're bluffing, he muttered. Trying to make me doubt myself, but it's done. We're letting everyone know the real you, how you ditched your family. Go ahead, I said, nodding toward the field. Tell them everything. Like how I paid Lindsay's rent for 2 years. Or how I covered your losses from all your gambling. Or the fact that I bought a phone for your granddaughter right before she told me I didn't mean a thing to her. His face darkened. Shut up. No, let's get real, Dad. You've got a whole bag of evidence showing everything I did for you and everything you took from me, and yet you still think you've got something over me. His grip on the backpack tightened, and his knuckles turned white. Don't talk to me like that. Like what? I leaned in, voice steady but eyes burning. Like the useless piece of furniture you always saw in me? The walking ATM? Shut up, he yelled, standing up and drawing some glances from the rows behind us. Sit down. My voice was cold as ice, and for a moment, I saw it, the fear in his eyes. He hated me, sure, but more than that, he feared losing his grip on everything. Or what? He laughed, but it was fake and desperate. What are you going to do? Attack your own dad? You think anyone here will back you up? You really think they're on your side? I waved toward the crowd, a bunch of strangers who really didn't care about his drama. You're just an angry old man with a bag full of debts. They don't know me, but they don't need to. His face twisted with anger. You selfish jerk. I smiled. I was your lifeline. Now you're drowning without me. He swung at me, I saw it coming. His hand was shaky, aiming for my face, but I didn't even flinch. He wanted a reaction, something to say I was the villain. But I just stared him down, calm and steady, and his fist stopped just inches from my face, trembling. I should have left you out to dry, he whispered, his voice shaky. You were always a leech. Funny, I said quietly, leaning in closer to catch the stale beer on his breath. That's exactly what I thought about you. Something in him broke. His hand dropped, his shoulders slumped. The crowd's cheers roared louder, perfectly covering the crumbling pride he had left. I grabbed the backpack from him without any struggle. Want to know what's in here? I said loud enough for others to hear. Proof of everything I did for you, every cent, every sacrifice. People started to look, whisper, and some even pulled out their phones. You want the truth? I unzipped the pack and pulled out a fat stack of papers. There it is. Proof I carried you, paid your bills, saved your house from foreclosure. Twice. The color drained from his face. And you talk about betrayal? I stood up, holding the papers high. You betrayed me when you turned me into your personal cash machine. When you laughed at them saying I was worthless. Stop, he pleaded, his voice small, sinking into the seat. No, you wanted a scene. Now you've got one. I tossed the papers at his feet, watching them scatter like dead leaves. Turning away, I walked up the steps past all those staring faces, all the whispers. You can't just leave, he shouted, voice breaking. But I didn't stop, didn't look back. For once, his words meant nothing. They didn't stop trying, at least not at first. The day after the stadium showdown, after Dad's pride took a nosedive on those cold metal seats, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing, calls, messages, accusations, begging, threats, all wrapped up in familiar voices of desperation. I ignored it all. Dad broke first, his angry calls turning into desperate pleas within hours. We can work this out, he lied. I'll forget it all. Let's be a family. But I didn't respond. Then it was. Okay, so let me spill the tea about Mom and Lindsay. Mom's texts were overflowing with guilt trips. You're breaking our hearts, she said, we didn't mean it. Family is all we have. Honestly, I didn't even bother reading all of them. Then Lindsay chimed in with messages full of bitterness, calling me a coward and saying I'd ruined everything. But then she backtracked, saying, please, just talk to me. I was scared. Don't do this. But I did. I ignored them, and that was my way of saying, I've had enough. They thought I was just messing around at first, but as time dragged on and their unpaid bills stacked up, it hit them, I was serious. Their friends stopped taking sides, and they knew I wasn't playing games. Their landlord even called me, stuttering about unpaid rent, but I told him it wasn't my problem. Mom sent me this sad picture of the family sitting in the dark with a lone candle, saying, we have nothing left. I didn't even flinch, I just deleted it. One day, coming back from the grocery store, I saw Dad outside my building pacing like he was lost. He looked worn out, fear written all over his face. He rushed up to me, saying, you're my son. You can't do this. But I kept walking. To me, I was just their ATM. He tried to stop me, saying, we raised you. We gave you everything. I met his gaze with, and now you have nothing. I sidestepped, but his hand grabbed my arm, his anger rearing up. You think you're better than us? He barked. I shook his grip off and kept going. He tried to throw a punch, but it was weak. It barely grazed my shoulder. He stumbled, catching himself on the building wall, struggling. I let out a breath with one word, pathetic. His face crumbled with rage. You'll come crawling back, you always do. You're nothing without us, I laughed loudly, echoing down the empty street. I was nothing with you, I shot back, turning away. I kept walking, never looking back. That night, I tossed my phone into my desk drawer and forgot about it. The messages and calls piled up, but I was untouchable. A week later, a letter showed up. Mom's handwriting was shaky and desperate. Please, your father is sick. Lindsay's losing it. We're falling apart. You're the only one who can fix this. Please come home. I crumpled it, not bothering with the rest. They were falling apart, but I was finally standing tall. I didn't change my number or hide away. I just stopped being their crutch, and their world fell to pieces. Lindsay's friends gave up on her, Mom's distant relatives stopped caring, and Dad got fired for losing his temper, typical. But I didn't care or watch any of it unfold. I was too busy living life for myself. I cooked, slept peacefully, and enjoyed guilt-free strolls, free from all those demanding messages. They were just echoes now, ghosts I'd left behind in a burning house, while I walked free. As months slipped by, the quiet became my friend. I woke when I wanted, enjoyed my meals free of guilt, and found joy exploring the city I'd ignored for so long. Every now and then, I'd half expect my phone to buzz with frantic texts, but it stayed silent. I'd done something I thought impossible, I'd moved on. They became ghosts of the past. One crisp autumn morning, I strolled down Main Street, past places filled with memories, the cafe where I bought cakes for Lindsay's birthday and the restaurant where I dished out cash for family dinners. But to me now, they were just ghosts. I stopped to listen to a street musician whose rough voice played a heartfelt tune. It wasn't about love or heartbreak, just about letting go. The world buzzed around me, alive and busy, while I soaked in the moment. When the song ended, I tossed him a 20. We exchanged nods, and I smiled, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. That was the difference. I never needed them, not really. I walked on, feeling lighter with every step. As the sun set, painting the sky in rich hues, I felt it, a deep down certainty. I was free.